Good afternoon, all. Today in this alumni webinar series, Sessions by Expert, today we have Mr. Mayuresh Sanap with us, who has completed his BE Computer Science from Vishwakarma Institute of Information Technology in 2012. The more important point to mention here is he is my batchmate and my friend. He has also pursued his MBA in operations from Jamnalal Bajaj Institute of Management from Mumbai in 2014. He has experience of 6 years in corporate strategy, business analytic, and program management. He is currently working with AP Global as a program manager. So, without taking much time, I request Mr. Mayuresh Sanap to take over the session.
Thank you, Nitin, for the introduction. And thank you for giving me opportunity to interact with the current students. It's my pleasure actually to share whatever I know with the current students. I have a presentation which I would like to share. Can you see the presentation, Nitin?
Yes, Mayuresh, yes.
Yeah. So he has already given my introduction, but he is such a nice person that he has only told good things about me. Let me first start with my real background. So as he mentioned, I've completed my BE Computer Science from VIIT in 2012. He has not mentioned what we have done, what especially I have done during engineering, how good was I in academics, in different exams, etc. Let me first mention here that I was not a scholar at all. I do not come from education. I'm not an educationist, first of all. When I'm giving a webinar on MBA after engineering, just keeping in mind that I will be sharing my experience here, what I have done, what you should be doing. All the facts, all the stats are available online. You can always search, but some of the experience I would like to share which may benefit you guys. So when I was talking about my engineering background, let me tell you, I have scored probably in 40% subjects, I have scored 40 marks. So you can gauge how good I was in academics. But more than that, I would like to mention that academics is not everything. I mean, the professors here may not completely agree with me here because they would want to score you guys and score well in all the exams, but it's not everything. It does matter, but this is how my background is. I mean, it's not anyways going to change. I've also skipped some of the engineering exams if anything knows it. But after doing all this, when I currently look back during my engineering days, what I have done, I do not regret what I've done, and this is how it is. So let me start the session with the agenda. So we'll see what I'll be covering today. So many of you must be having questions what to do after engineering. I'm not sure which year are you guys from. I'm just assuming that you are currently doing an engineering. So after engineering, most of the guys have a question what to do after engineering. So should I go for a job? Should I go for an MS, MTech or an MBA? Should I start something on my own? A lot of questions. I'm not an expert of all the fields, but for MBA, definitely I can guide you on that. Who should or should not go for an MBA? We'll also see what all exams are there, what all entrance exams are there for different colleges and how to crack these exams. We'll also go through the college rankings, then what are the fees, salaries, what are the MBA specializations, and I'll just cover in a little bit about how is the life after MBA. So we'll first see who should go for an MBA. So like I said, many of us have this question during engineering, what to do. So, but some of you must be sure that yes, I want to do this, I want to do that. If your answer is yes, congratulations, this webinar is not actually for you. thing you have to take care here is you are just not blindly following your friend. Just because your friend wants to do an MBA or just your friend wants to start something on his own, you should not follow it. Jokes apart, we'll see if you're not sure what to do in life, you should not directly go for an MBA, not yet at least, because first you have to see what you are good at. Since you have already chosen engineering, and in India at least, I see the trend that people after 12th they either go for MBBS or for engineering. So if that is the case with you, this is the time to evaluate. You are mature enough now to evaluate what's your interest. If you are, let's say, a computer engineer, you're doing computer engineering, mechanical engineering, are you good at it? That is the first question you should ask. If your answer is yes, I would suggest get a job in the same field if you're interested. Work for a year at least. So when I'm saying work for a year, so you have an option. You can directly go for an MBA after your graduation, but I would not suggest it. I've done the same thing. I regret it a bit. I should have got some experience. I will cover that later in detail. Why should you get experience before MBA? So I would recommend you should get a job and work for a year. Then you should ask yourself if you wish to work in this core field for lifetime. Do you think you can do this work for lifetime? If you're, let's say, a computer engineer, programming, if that's your industry area, would you like to do that for lifetime? Or for sure you wouldn't be doing that for lifetime, because there'll be a time wherein you'll grow into a managerial role. But yes, the work will remain same. You'll be guiding your teammates, but the work will remain same. So you should ask this question after working for a year at least. And I'm saying a year for a reason, because after a year, if you sense, no, this is not for me, you still have a chance. You can decide to appear for entrance exams, crack it, and then get into an MBA. And according to me, what I have seen during my MBA days, what I've seen in different colleges also, I have some of the friends, 2 years of experience is an ideal experience for you to have before getting into an MBA college, because you get some perspective when you are learning, let's say, about operations management. If you are a mechanical engineer, you know how the company works. During engineer, I'm not sure how the syllabus is right now, but at our time at least it was more on a theory part rather than how the industry works. We did not have any internships or such things. You get some experience, and when you're learning something in the B school, you can relate to it. Okay, this is how it should have been done. Let's say when we talk about, let's say, manufacturing, and your plant capacity, which is the most important thing in the manufacturing. You know why capacity planning is important. You can relate, we should have done this if this was the case. And this applies to all industries, not only manufacturing. So having an experience of 2 years will actually add to your profile, not only from education point of view, but when the companies come for placements, there are some companies who have eligibility criteria of 2 years minimum. So to be eligible for those companies as well, I would recommend you to get 2 years of experience. There are some companies who would want 4 years of experience, but those are probably, you can count, it'll be in single digit in most of the scenarios, but having 2 years experience will always add value to your profile. But then there is a question whether would you be interested later in doing MBA, because some people after having 2 years of experience, they think, I don't want to go to college again. But it's again the same question you have to ask. Are you satisfied with whatever you're doing? And if answer is yes, and nobody is bothering here, you can do your career in your core field. No issues there. And for when it comes to salaries, yes, you can get salaries, good salaries if you get a good MBA college. But if you are really passionate in your core field and you think this is the career for you, you can earn good amount in your core field as well. So when you ask this question to you yourself after a year, and if your answer is yes, yeah, if you wish to work in your core field, yes, again, I am saying this webinar is not for you. Uh, this is in light sense, but whatever I'm telling now will be more from the MBA perspective. And if anybody is interested in technical, may not be able to relate here. But if you think after a year that this is not something which I would be doing for a lifetime, then the next question you have to ask here is, do you have inclination towards business management? Most of the people who have joined MBA with me did not have this background of business management. I would say I was in a batch of 120 students. So Jamnalal Bajaj Institute of Management Studies had intake of 120 students, and I would say about 70 to 75% of our batch was engineers, and they did not come from business background. So it's not necessary to have let's say a BCom degree or economics degree to do an MBA, first of all. So but if you think you have some inclination towards business management, so let's say you love what you see on TV, the TV advertisements, the social media marketing, when it comes to marketing, or when it comes to manufacturing, you see how the production floor is completely managed, or when it comes to finances, you have some inclination towards numbers, and you would like to see how banks operate, and you would like to contribute to that field as well. You can definitely think of this. So you have to ask this question: do you have some inclination towards business management? If yes, you should go for an MBA. Only if this answer is yes. You should not go for an MBA only because of good salaries, looking at only good salaries, or just getting a postgraduate degree, or just thinking that I will grow in the current industry if I have good MBA. Not necessary. You should have totally. You should have inclination towards that subject. Otherwise, you will regret for life. Let's see, if you don't have inclination, please don't get an MBA is what I was trying to say. You still have different career opportunities. Maybe probably you can think of, let's say, UPSC, MPSC. If you are interested in, you can start something on your own, or keep continuing the job which you just said you are not really interested in. Now let's see if you're not good in your core field. If this is the case, that means the decision of doing an engineering in the subject which you have selected has gone wrong. And I would definitely focus here that since your one decision has already gone wrong, please be very sure about your next decision, because this is one decision which is going to change your life. Don't do it just for the sake of it, or just don't do it because you don't have any other option. If you do not, if you are not good in your core field, but if you think you have a inclination towards business management, again I would say get a job not in your core field because you're not interested in core field. Try to get a job in business field. So you may think you are an engineer, how will you get a job in a business field? You will definitely get a job. Let's say if you have an inclination towards marketing, sales, there are a lot of jobs available, and if you are an engineer, you have that advantage definitely, because it's required, and for that role, people look for an engineer especially to get into that role. Or if let's say you are interested in let's say operations management or supply chain, you should try to get into those jobs. Try to get 2 years of experience. Again, I'm saying, even if you are good in your core field, try to get that experience in your core field. If you're not interested in core field, try to get that experience in the business field. at least for 2 years is what I'm saying. 2 years, I will always say it's an ideal period, not less, not more. When you are planning for 2 years, 2 years of experience, keep in mind, just after completing 2 years, you should get into a B school. Some of the people do this thing. So some of my batchmates in MBA had done this thing. They completed their engineering work for a year or two. They took a gap of a year just to prepare for an MBA entrance to get into a good college. I would not recommend that, because taking a year takes you back in your career for about a year. And also, when you are applying for placements during your MBA, the interviewers are going to ask you, why had you taken a break? This clearly shows that you cannot manage multiple things at the same time. So, but if you really think that you can't manage, you can obviously go for a gap, but it is not recommended. So you should get a job in the business field, work for 2 years, and then go for an MBA. And if you're not good in your core field, you don't even have inclination towards business management, I would say don't get an MBA. It's really important, guys, to decide this, whether to go for an MBA or not. I'm sure this flowchart has not covered all the scenarios. There might be some unique scenarios, but this is the direction I'm just giving you to take your decision. It will definitely not answer all of your questions here. Probably we can answer that later. But this is a direction you should take while taking your decision. And once you go for an MBA, complete your MBA, and get married, have kids. Okay. So let's see what are the entrance exams for getting into different colleges and how to crack these exams. So we'll see how the B schools admissions work. When I had decided to go for an MBA, I'll tell you the story how it actually happened. So as you know, our placement starts in the 4th year, and at the time of placements, companies see the average percentage of your first 3 years, and based on that, they put some criteria that you should have this much percentage to appear for our process. In our case, most of the companies were keeping the eligibility criteria of 55%. So most of the companies like Infosys, TCS, who hire in a big lot, they had this criteria, but luckily or unluckily, I would say, my average was 54.5%. I missed this criteria, and I could not appear for these companies. And I was thinking, what should I do in my life? The only thing is, I was good with numbers. I knew this is my strength. I was good with logic, and all the subjects for which students used to join coaching classes like maths or graphics or mechanics, these were my actually strength. So I was literally thinking I should start a coaching class after completing my engineering, and this I was thinking because I did not really have any other option, because I was thinking I will not get any placement because I don't have good marks. And I was not even worried what will happen to me after engineering. I was like, okay, we'll see when the time comes. But later, I also attended one of the workshop wherein they showed how is the MBA, what are the colleges, etc. Then I thought, okay, let's try, let's appear in CAT exam this year and see. I waited till last day to fill the form, but luckily one company came to our campus with no criteria, and I applied for that interview. I got hired for that company on the last day of filling the CAT admission form, CAT registration form. This was the last day of filling the form, and I was very happy. I got a placement now. Why should I worry about getting into an MBA and all? I did not fill the form. I was really happy that I got a placement in spite of having low marks, etc. But a few months went. After a few months, I was doing some research on the internet. I was going through one of the research wherein it was shown on the portal that these are the top colleges and what is the average salary of any particular college or all the colleges it showed. And I just saw the IIM for IIMs, it was showing some 13 lakhs, 14 lakhs salary. And I actually got surprised. I mean, I did not know this that after MBA, people earn this much. And after engineering, in our case, the average salary used to be in the range of 3 lakhs or 3.5 lakhs. I thought, okay, let me at least give it a try, but I had lost an opportunity to appear for CAT that year. But then there was an interest for our Maharashtra college. Like the way we have engineering city, we have MBA city for Maharashtra colleges, and there is this college, Jamnalal Bajaj. I researched about the college, how it is. I went through the college website, seen the ex-students of Jamnalal Bajaj, what they're doing in their life. And obviously, what most of us are interested in, what is the average placement there. I saw the numbers and I thought, okay, let me give it a try. I went through the website, tried to search about how the exam will be like, what will be the sections, what will, how will the difficulty level, etc. I downloaded the sample question paper and I thought, okay, this is something which I can do. There's no harm in actually appearing for this exam. I think it was month of December when I decided to appear for this exam, and the exam was in the month of February that year, which later got postponed to March. So I had about 2 to 3 months to prepare. I prepared for it, appeared for the exam. One thing I would like to tell here is I took my decision based on salary, which I would not really recommend. I do not regret that decision completely. I'm lucky that I do not regret the decision, but people do regret after getting a placement of 15 lakh, 20 lakh, after working for 3 to 4 years, they do regret that they shouldn't have done MBA. They were really good at what they had, they were doing before MBA. That is the reason I'm just repeating it again. You should not only look at the salary numbers. Coming back to the admission selection process, here the process is almost similar for all the colleges, all the exams. So they take the entrance test just to evaluate everyone on the same platform, because some of the students must have done engineering, some of them are doctors, some of them have done commerce, economics, etc. Just to get them on the same platform, they perform. They check the performance in the entrance test. Academic performance, as I mentioned at the start of the session, I was not really good at academic, but it is one of the important parameter when you're taking an admission into a school. The next thing, if you do well in entrance exam and if you have more academic score, academic performance, you get to appear for group discussion and personal interview. And the fourth point here is work experience. It's also one of the important parameter here. There is a weightage given in some of the colleges for work experience. I was lucky that to get into JBIMS, I did not have to I did not have to have a work experience, because the admission process there is a little different than how it is in most of the IIMs. The work experience weightage given was about, I would say, 1% of total performance. More weightage was given to the entrance test. Let's say 200 marks was entrance test. Then about 40 marks were given to GD plus PI plus academic performance plus work experience. Out of that, only 2 marks for academic performance and 2 marks for work experience. So I was really lucky, I would say, in this scenario. But if you are, let's say, trying to get into IIMs, you should focus on these 4 points, because there is quite a good weightage for work experience as well, and academic performance. They do look into your 10 score, 12 score. If you have scored, let's say, 90 odd percentage, you are in really a good state right now to actually work towards your goal. For group discussion, it's really important to work on your group discussion, not only before getting into an MBA. Probably in engineering, also some of the companies conduct group discussions, but in MBA, it's very necessary to prepare well for your group discussions, not only from admission point of view, but once you get into MBA, you will probably through in 2 years time you'll attend about 25 to 30 group discussions in your 2 years, and keeping quiet in group discussion doesn't really look good. So and if you really have to participate in group discussions, you have to have good knowledge about what's happening outside. Keep reading newspaper, which I really hated throughout my MBA. I never read newspaper before my MBA actually, but I did not have any other option during MBA. And it's really good to be updated to keep yourself updated about what's happening outside. When I say keep updated, I would recommend keep updates of economics, what's happening in India, what's wrong with the economy, the GDP, etc. You should read Economic Times for that. For personal interview, it's again the way you prepare for engineering. I would say will not really help. I would say, because in engineering we mostly focus on technical interviews, but here more focus is on behavioral questions. At the time of MBA, the first question starts from why MBA after engineering, and people actually fail to answer here. And see, most of these things you will anyways get on Google. If you just Google MBA entrance personal education, you'll get a list of it. But it's very important to keep yourself prepared while you're preparing for entrance exam. You should not wait for clearing your entrance exam and then start preparing for group discussion and personal interview. Let's go ahead and see what are the types of entrance exams here. The most famous or the most common entrance exam here is CAT, which all the IIMs accept here. Apart from IIMs, then there are some of the top institutes like FMS, which is Delhi University College, MDI, SP Jain, IITs, some of the IITs. Then there is IMT. These colleges accept CAT, and then there are 500 other colleges which I will not mention here. But when you appear for CAT, be very sure. So it's like our engineering. During our engineering, we knew whatever score I get in engineering CT or whatever it is, JE or something, I'm going to get admission somehow in some college. That is for sure. Because these days, there are some colleges who do not get students. So anyways, getting an admission is not an issue. Getting a good college is very important here. And if you're not getting a good college, it's not worth doing an MBA for sure. It's otherwise just a degree in front of your name, which is not going to help anywhere in your life. Then there is MHCT, which is Maharashtra CT for colleges which come under our universities. For example, Mumbai University, Pune University. Under Mumbai University, so the top college here is JBIMS. The second top is Sydenham. When it comes to Pune University, the top college is Pumba here. And then there are about 300 odd other colleges in Maharashtra, which I would not recommend you to target at this stage. Then there are different exams. So there is ZAT for XLRI. XLRI is also one of the good college. Then there is SNAP for all the symbiosis colleges. So one of the famous colleges is SIBM, which is in Pune. Then there is NMAT for NMIMS. So these are some of the colleges which you can actually think of trying. And when there are, I mentioned 7 exams, but I'm sure there are more exams than this. You need not have to worry about how should I prepare for all these exams, because all these exams focus on these 6 topics. Not necessarily all 6, but only these 6 topics. So I will only, in this discussion, I will only focus on CAT and Maharashtra CT since we belong to Maharashtra. So in CAT, we have a section on RC and verbal ability test. So verbal ability test focuses on your vocabulary, synonyms, antonyms. Then there are questions on RCs. So you'll get big passages, you have to read, answer. There are strategies to how to attempt it. You will come to that later. So there is one section on RC and verbal ability test. You need to have good uh, good control over the language if you actually think to crack CAT. When it comes to quantitative ability test, it's, I would say, if you are an engineer, most of you uh, have scored quite well in your mathematics in 10th and 12th. If you scored quite good in 10th, and even if your trigonometry was not really good, you will do fairly well in quantitative test. It's nothing but syllabus of first to 10th standard except trigonometry. The only thing is the difficulty level in CAT is on a higher side when we compare it to Maharashtra CET. Then we have data interpretation skills wherein you get some bar charts or pie charts. It's only a game of numbers. If you understand the question clearly and if you do calculations correctly, you won't have any issue in solving this session. These days we have online exams, so you get calculator as well, online calculator. So you did not even have to worry about doing complex calculations. Then about logical ability test. So this section especially we have not studied during our school at all. Our syllabus never focused on this subject. If you were really lucky to have attempted scholarship exams at in our time, it used to be 4th to 7th standards. The MTS exams, the NTS exams, these exams were actually focused on these sections. If you were lucky, you know how these exams are, and obviously during engineering also, you will go through some of these entrance tests for the companies. When it comes to CAT, the logical ability test focuses mainly on puzzles, the complex puzzles. Let's say there is a table, the round table, 10 people are sitting, some are facing inwards, some are facing outwards, A is sitting right to B, etc., etc. There will be a lot of complications. If you go wrong in one of your, when you're solving one of the step goes wrong, your complete puzzle goes wrong, all 4 questions go wrong here. So we'll come back. We'll come to that, how to prepare for that. But this is one of the important section. General awareness test is not there in CAT, not even in MBA CET. I think general awareness test you will find in SNAP. They focus on GK. I guess in XLRI, I think in XMAT also it's there. If you are planning to appear for that exam, you should start preparing for general awareness test as well. Now comes the point how to crack these exams. I'll first cover how the calculation happens here, how the students are rated on these exams. So there is a percentile method. I'm not sure if you are aware of. I was not aware till the time I appeared for my MBA entrance. So percentile is nothing but what percentage of people who have appeared for that exam are behind you. That means I've scored less than you. If you have scored, let's say 99 percentile, that means 99% of the students have scored less marks than you. When you're targeting for, let's say, JBMS through MBA CET or IIMs from after appearing CAT, for JBMS, I would say you will have to target 99.5 percentile because about 1 lakh people get exam and there are only 120 seats. And so it's really a tough competition. So you have to keep in mind that it's not that easy to get into a college, but if you really prepare hard, it's not even difficult to get into that college. For IIMs, I would say the cutoff does not only depend on the entrance exam, but you will at least have to score 98, 99 percentile to be eligible for these colleges. You get a call, Then you go and appear for a group discussion, personal interview, and then the decision is taken whether to give admission to you or not. Now let's see how to prepare for this exam. So, basics. You must have heard it a lot of times from your professors, from everyone. Actually, the basics are really important. This is not an exam wherein it's not an university exam wherein you can go and write something and out of 4 you at least get 2 marks because you have written something. It's an MCQ exam. It's either right or it's wrong. You have to be very sure when you are answering your question, especially when it comes to CAT, there is a negative marking. If you go wrong, you lose points. When it comes to MBA CET, you get 150 minutes to answer 200 questions. You don't really have time to actually waste your time on the questions which you think you're not sure, which will go incorrect. Basics, that's why basics are really important. So when it comes to quantitative, if your basics are not clear, let's say you're working on the work and time questions, the basics have to be clear because in CAT the advanced questions will appear, and if you attempt these questions without having clear knowledge, for sure you will fail at it. For CET, the basics are enough, I would say. The questions are not really difficult because they expect you to solve 200 questions in 150 minutes. If you calculate, you don't even get a minute per question. You spend about 10-15 seconds in reading that question. In half a minute, you have to solve and go to the next question. Once your basics are clear, most of the people recommend you join this class, you join that class. I'm not against that methodology, but if you're joining a class, make sure don't rely only on the class. Self-study is the most important thing here. You study, you go to the classes, you study, you understand everything because they're not rocket science. They solve a question on the board, you understand, you think, Acha, this is easy, I can solve it. If you directly go and appear for the exam, you are clueless. I mean, you think, Arey, this was really easy, I'm able to solve it. Self-study is really important here. It is actually important in all the entrance exams, I would say. During your, if you compare your 12th board exam versus your entrance exam of engineering, 12th exam, you can at least depend on your the knowledge you have got in your class and go and write in the paper. But to appear for these exams, it's really, really important to work on your weak areas. And then practice. Once you're through with your basics, once you've completed all your studies, you think, now I have the knowledge. Then only you start practicing. When you're convinced कि अच्छा, this topic I'll be able to solve all the questions, take the questions, solve it. Keep solving the questions. If you get wrong, go back to the basics, check why it has gone wrong. There are multiple reasons why it goes wrong. We'll cover it in the next point. Keep solving, and once you're through with this, let's say you have covered all the sections for all the sections, all the topics, then the next important thing is mocks. I will tell you, when I was preparing for MBA CET, I must have given at least 30 to 35 mocks. The mocks actually give you a feeling of your real exam. You know, where are you? What can go wrong in your actual exam? And this is actually the time you get to actually make mistakes, which will not really cost you much because the entrance exam, let's say entrance exam like CAT and MBA CET will be there next year as well, but then you have to wait for a year, and you should try to make all the mistakes in mocks and make sure that you are fully prepared. But only appearing for mocks is not enough. If you appear, let's say I had appeared for 30-35 mocks. Let's say if you appear for, let's say, 50 odd mocks, you're not sure yet that you will score good in the main exam. Analyzing that mock is the next thing. Because let's say I appeared for a mock and there were 100 questions, I got 8 marks, I'm happy. I got 80 marks. I don't have to worry now. I just have to score 90 marks in the main exam. This is my, let's say, 10th mock. I'm scoring 80. There are 20 odd mocks coming in. I will score 90 easily. This is not the case. You have to analyze your mock, and it has to be a structured analysis. When it comes to MBA, you have to have structured decision-making ability. The way I showed the flow chart, the first flow chart, if you see, that way you have to solve all the problems. So when it comes to mocks analysis, you have scored 80, you have lost 20 marks. Now you have to see why you have lost 20 marks. The reason behind it can be you did not have enough time to solve it, or mistake. Under silly mistake, there can be it was a calculation mistake, or maybe you have got a concept wrong. There is a problem at the basics itself, or there can be a reason that the silly mistake, while just putting your answer, probably you solved it correctly. The answer was 20. 20 was in option 1, but you selected option 2. There can be any reason here, and you have to evaluate that reason first. You have to find out the root cause here, why it has gone wrong. Now, once you analyze it, and you should not do it only for the questions which have gone wrong. Let's say I've got 80 marks out of 100. 80 I've got it, but what I had done, I could only solve 50 questions. For rest of 50, what I did, I marked all the questions as A. The Dupka strategy, marking all the questions with the same answer. Luckily, I got 30 additional marks, which is not going to help you. It may, if the luck is on your side, but it's definitely not going to help you in the long term. Even if you have scored 80, you have to dig into it. Is it sure that I knew this question, I solved it correctly, that's why I got the marks? Or maybe I solved it incorrectly, but I somehow got this answer nearby. Let's say I got 7 as an answer. In the options, I could see options as 8, 100, 200, 300. I got 7. I just marked 8 as an answer here because it is near to what I've got, and then I got the correct answer. You have to actually analyze this mock very, very in a structured way. Once you analyze this mock, you know now where you are making mistakes. The wrong answers you're getting, what is the reason behind it? Also, you have to find out, let's say I'm solving quantitative ability test. In the quantitative ability test, most of the questions which are going wrong are from geometry. You have to keep analyzing it. You have to keep recording it. Keep recording Excel. This is the first mock. In geometry, I lost these many marks. The reason was one silly mistake, one concept error, etc. Keep that Excel ready. After, let's say, attempting 10 odd mocks, just total it up. Find out what is your gap. Where are you weak? Are the calculations going wrong? Find out why calculations are going wrong. Are you hurrying up? If that is the case, you should spend more time on it. Or if the problem is at concept stage, get it cleared. You have internet as a source, find out your friends, find out teachers, get the basics clear. So mock analysis is very important here, guys. And again, practice, I would say. Practice, I'm repeating here because without practice, you are not going to crack. And that is for sure. Probably 1 in a lakh student may go and appear just like that and score good marks. But don't expect that to happen with us. Don't take that risk in this preparation. Now going ahead, let's see which are the colleges, how are they ranked. So I have just taken a screenshot from one of the portal. As I told you, I'm not an educationist. I don't keep records of all this. I just went to the website, I took a screenshot just to give you a direction how to proceed with your decision and preparation. So these are the top 10 rankings given by Time Institutes. You must be knowing. I'm not promoting Time, first of all. This is just a screenshot taken from their website. This is in alphabetical order, not necessarily that MS is better than I am. This is in alphabetical order. So you can see I am Ahmedabad, Bangalore, Calcutta here. these are ABC, Ahmedabad, Bangalore, and Calcutta. These are the most sought after colleges where the students want to get into these colleges. FMS is University College, Delhi University College, then there's IFT in New Delhi, then you can see my college here, JVMS, which is Mumbai University College. Then we have got NITI, which focuses on operations, supply chain, specialization. Then we have got SPJ in Mumbai, XLRI. These are the top 10 colleges given by an institute. Then we have got triple A plus colleges just come after this top 10. Then there are a lot of IIMs now. New IIMs have come. Just for the sake of brand, people are going for these IIMs, but definitely it will help them in long term because this IIM brand actually helps in the life. There are a lot of colleges. You can actually Google it up, take this as just a direction. Let's have a look at the fees and placements in these colleges. Now, I am Ahmedabad for 2 years. You'll be spending about 23 lakhs as a fees. Then there will be hostel, the other expenses, and 30 lakhs as your fees. The average salary here given is 25 lakhs. Yes, it is 25 lakhs, about 2 lakhs a month average salary. Again, I have taken all these stats from one of the site. I'm not gone to all the college websites and taken these numbers. Don't take this as a final number. Probably these numbers are of 1 or 2 years old. But just to get a direction, this will help. That's why I put in the presentation. You can see here, Ahmedabad, Bangalore, Calcutta, all the colleges have similar fees, about 20-25 lakhs, and the average salary ranges here about 25 lakhs. Now, be sure here the average salary which is given. So this must be published by the college itself. Normally, the process in MBA colleges is they complete the placement and they publish the placement report in detail, which all the companies, the top companies visited our campus, what percentage of people joined financial institutes, how many have gone into consulting firms, the marketing jobs, etc., etc. Not necessarily these numbers which are given here are 100% true. When I'm saying that this, when they say it's 25, it's not going to be a 10 or 15, but when they calculate this amount just to get the higher number here, they consider all the benefits that the students are going to get after joining the company. Let's say I joined a company, they gave me a package of let's say 15 lakhs, and then there is a retention bonus after 2 years, which I'm going to get of 2 lakh rupees. They will add that retention bonus, which I'm going to get after 2 years, into my salary component. They will show my salary at 17 lakh. So just take these numbers with a pinch of salt. Probably just to be on the safer side, consider these numbers are 20% higher. I'm not saying this is the case, but consider it is 20% higher than the reality. And also keep in mind, this is average salary. There are people who would get about 40 lakh salary, 50 lakh salary. There are people who will get 7 lakhs or 8 lakhs as well. It's not necessary that you have gone into IIM Ahmedabad, you will get 25 lakhs. No, you can. There is a chance that you will not even get a job. There is a possibility. Even if they claim 100% placement, some of the college have this process. Just to declare their 100% placement, they ask their students to back out from the placement process because they are not able to get a job, and take it in writing from the students that I'm backing out from the placement process, and nobody is forcing me to do that, and I have my own interest and I'll try to get job on my own. And then they publish that we have got 100% placements. Even if this is the case, you can be assured that the placement will not be less than 90-95% here. There will always be some guys who will have some of the other problems. Probably they are not able to talk properly, or they don't have a good knowledge of what they are studying. There are different problems which people face during placements. But if you look at these numbers, most of these top colleges are at around 20 lakhs salary. These are IIMs. IIMs are kept in the upper part of the table. There are other IIMs, new IIMs have come. We have IIM Nagpur also, I guess, which has come up. We have IIM Raipur, Udaipur, etc. Most of these colleges have got fees of about 10 to 13 lakhs, and their average salary ranges 9 to 14. Again, when there's 9 to 14, consider it to be around 6 to 9 lakhs. And the same can happen here, that you may not get placement, or it may happen that you are interested, let's say, in analytics as an industry, and you are not getting those companies in your campus. You may decide to wait for those companies and may end up not getting a job there. You will have to try outside. But for 90 to 95% students, they do get a good job, good salary. And as you know, and I've also studied in MBA, that average is really not a good parameter to look at, since it actually doesn't give you a real picture. Because if somebody gets 50 lakhs, some gets no placement, the average still comes 25 lakhs. Considering this, if you look at other than IIMs, the bottom side of it, the lowest fee you can find out here is of Sydenham, which is 1.36 lakhs, since it also comes under Mumbai University. And then you can find out FMS, which is Faculty of Management Studies. They charge only 2 lakhs as a fees, which is one of the top college with the least fees. Many people want to get into that college because of that, because there is higher return on investment here, because on the salary side as well, it is at par with IIMs. Same is the case here with, if you see Jamnala Gujarat Institute of Management Studies, at our time the fees was 2 lakh only. Now I guess they have increased it to 6 lakhs, and they're claiming the number to be 19 lakh. I got to know in the morning that this 19 lakh average salary is of, I think, 2018 placement average salary. But the same rule applies to my college as well. I will not defend that. Consider about 10-20% less average package than what is mentioned on the website. Then there are other colleges here. You can see IIT Bombay. Then there is IIT Kharagpur, IIT Delhi. These colleges are there. If you actually Google, there is mbauniversity.com website. You'll get a lot of information about this on the portal. Now we'll just see. Now let's say if you get an admission, then the next question comes here: what should be the MBA specialization? Some of the colleges do ask for the specialization before you take an admission. Some of the colleges have this option to choose your specialization after your first year. This really helps if you're choosing your specialization after first year. You get to study all the subjects of all the specializations. Like we have studied in engineering first year, at least I've studied civil, electrical. I don't know how is the case right now, but I'm sure you must be. You must have also studied different subjects of the departments. Then you get sense, now I know the basics of finance, marketing, operations. What should I do? So let's see what are the MBA specializations. So like I mentioned, finance, people think that they should take MBA finance specialization only if they are from econ background, or if they are from economics background. This is completely not true. Out of my batch of 120 students, when I said 75% of my batch, about 75% was engineers, out of 120, 70 students took finance as a specialization, and the percentage remained the same, about 70-80% of them were engineers. It's not necessary to have commerce background to do an MBA in finance. Then marketing, if you think, if you are really passionate about what's happening outside, you see the marketing campaigns. If you think you are creative enough, or you think you can sell anything to anyone, then this is a specialization for you. You should be top active for sure if you wanna get in marketing. Mainly, it's not for introverts. Yes, you can work on your skill, but not really recommended for introverts here. Finance, if you're really good at numbers, definitely you can think this is an option. Operations, mainly people with mechanical engineering background go for operations management. But if you've seen, I've done my computer engineering, and in the first year I realized uh, even during engineering, I used to think, yeah, I should have done mechanical engineering. I used to like these subjects, graphics and mechanics, but I could not change my specialization. I got this opportunity to actually switch to operations. And after studying for a year, I realized that this is something which I can do for the rest of my life. Operations will cover mainly on the manufacturing side and supply chain as well, logistics and supply chain. Then there's human resource management. People actually think this is really easy to. It's really easy to become an HR in the company, which is not the case. People make fun of HRs, but they do really have, at least if you are from a premium B school, you really get into a good role into HR. You get to you become a talent acquisition head, talent management, then retention, etc. A lot of strategies are needed in human resource management as well. This is one of the specialization. Then IT, if you think, let's say you are a computer or IT engineer, you work for 2 years, you realize this is something which I can do, but I still want to go for an MBA. You can think of this is an option. Then there are other specializations. Many specializations are there. You can find rural management, and there'll be pharma specialization. A lot of specializations are there, but the core specializations which I mentioned, mainly you should take decision the way you took. We uh, we will be taking MBA decision. This is also one of the important decision which specialization to be taken. Also, it also depends on the college you're going in. So, for example, JVMS is famous for finance placement. So, a lot of good banks, financial institutes visit JVMS for placements, and this is one of the reasons why people go for finance as an option, specialization. Now, after covering that, I'll just, in brief, talk about my life after MBA. I After MBA, you have seen the average salaries. I also was lucky to get 5-digit monthly salary, and I got placed in Julian Motor Works as a management trainee as a part of their Young Leaders program. And this is the benefit actually. If you have done an MBA, you get a fast track in your career. So it was a young leaders program, and eventually uh, in 2 years time, I started reporting to the CEO of the company and assisted him in the corporate strategy. It was in Bangalore, and I had to come to Pune. My family is in Pune. I switched program manager. Here also working with the chairman of the company in different strategical strategies. And when it comes to work-life balance, some people think if you complete your MBA from premium B schools, you do get good salaries, but you don't get work-life balance. That is really not the case. It may happen with 5 or 10% people, but we cannot generalize this. And it can happen if you are a non-MBA as well. So it is not really the case that it happens because of the premium B school. You do get a work-life balance. Also, the benefit here I can mention is you get to start, you get a lot of exposure if you are an MBA, you get this exposure, and after some time, if you think of starting something on your own, the experience, the mistakes you have done in your career help you actually build your business. You know what are the things you should focus on, what are the things you should avoid, so that you don't burn your own hands in your own startup. Uh, so this is one of the definite advantage I can say after an MBA. After you get some experience, it helps you in setting up your own business. Otherwise, the ladder is really good here. In career, you can really go up, and So at least from my college is concerned, it is known as CEO faculty. So many CEOs are from my college, and it's not only because of college. Probably the entrance exam takes care of it, that the good students coming to the college, and the faculty there also takes care of it. The faculty at JJM, I would say about 90% of them were guest lecturers and with industry connects. So we used to get only practical knowledge in MBA, very less of theory. This is the advantage of doing an MBA from premium B school, and this is how it is. Thank you. Over to you, Nitin. Nitin, are you there?
Nitin, sir? I think Nitin sir isn't there. So there are a couple of questions, Mayuresh. You can probably turn off your video, turn off your face.
Yeah, I'm going through the question and answers.
I will ask the questions and probably you can respond to them. I'll just stop sharing your presentation. Yeah. You can turn on your video. I think it's off.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's a question that I'll go one by one. Sunil asks, what is the difference in doing an MBA in foreign versus or India? Is there a difference in the learning process?
When it comes to process, I would not say it'll be very much different. But when we compare premium B schools of India versus premium B schools of foreign, definitely the faculties in those colleges, you will get Raghuram Rajan teaching in the top B school there. Definitely you will get good professors there. But when it comes to the process remains the same. They also focus on the theory, the practical knowledge. They will also have internship. But I would not find any major difference in the process as such. But if you are interested in settling abroad, getting those fat packages which you get outside, definitely you can think of that as an option. What happens in the industry, people complete their MBA here and work for a few years, about 5 to 10 years, and then they go for an MBA from abroad, which again adds value to it. And most of the good companies, let's say Hindustan Unilever, they have these programs. If they find out there is a talent inside the company, they actually finance the complete MBA for that employee, and that employee can go abroad and study at company's cost and rejoin the company.
Sure.
So immediately I would not actually recommend to go for MBA from outside.
Sure.
Later you can.
So there's a question from Sanket Wankade. So everyone who is graduate is eligible for doing an MBA. What are the advantages of doing MBA after engineering? I think you covered this a bit in the session as well.
Yes. So after engineering, if you're looking for advantages, see, if you are, let's say, there are parts of it. If you are a mechanical engineer, definitely operations management, companies look only for people who have done mechanical engineering and MBA in operations. That is clear-cut advantage. If somebody is from BCom, Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Science, they will not actually prefer these guys because you already have technical knowledge. Another thing here is in the premium B schools, at least I would say, very few companies will actually filter people based on their graduation background. Because if you are a finance specialization, marketing specialization, your background doesn't really matter unless the company is into technical products, technical sales. Let's say it's an HUL, which most of the MBA students want to get into. They manufacture soaps. They would not actually care if you are an engineer or if you are a BCom, if you are getting into a marketing specialization. Clear advantage for IT and operations, but I would not see any major advantage of completing engineering, apart from the structured thinking which engineering takes care of during the education, that people with engineering background have that structured way of thinking.
Right. So there's a question from Yesh Singhvi. Is distance MBA a good option? And if yes, what are the colleges you would recommend?
I would really not suggest distance MBA. The reason why we do an MBA is really important here. If you can't take out 2 years of your life to do an MBA from a good college, I would not actually suggest to go for a distance MBA. If you just want a degree, you can go for it. There is a distance MBA available in IIM Ahmedabad, IIM Bangalore as well. If you wanna actually go for a distance MBA, but the fees also will be high. Also, the main reason why people go for an MBA for the salary packages and all are given only to the full-time MBA students and not to the distance MBA. Also, when you are looking for jobs outside, people look for employees who have done MBA full-time and not part-time. So that's the last option you should consider if you really can't spare 2 years of your life to do a complete MBA.
Right. Aniket Rane asked the question, how much time is required for preparation of CAT and MBA, as I'm in 5th semester now?
So Aniket, 5th semester, so you have got about 1.5 years in case if you decide to appear for your CAT after in the 4th year. I would recommend you start appearing for this exam from this year itself. Be it CAT, be it CET, you get sense of where you are, how the exam will be like, because you don't get that experience in the mock exam. Also, you get evaluated based on the total population who appear for this exam, about 2-3 lakh people who appear for CAT. And when you ask about the time required, I would say it's minimum. I would say it's 3 to 4 months. It's minimum. I'm not saying everybody can do it in three to 4 months. It actually depends on your current preparation level, because even though you're not preparing for it, if you are good at math, you know how to solve logical questions, you know your English vocab, etc. is good. The time required will be 3 months, but I've seen people repeating MBA entrances 2 years, 3 years, but still could not crack IIM. So it's actually a subjective question, and it totally depends on your capabilities and your current level of preparation.
There's a question by Aditya Rajput. Sir, can you please elaborate the profile building for GMAT?
Sorry, Aditya, GMAT, I actually can't comment. See, this is more from my experience, which I'm conducting this webinar. I'm not an educationist. I don't do any coaching center or something. This was more from CAT and CET perspective. Probably you'll have to consult somebody else for that.
Right, okay. So there's a relevant question that I think you already answered this. What are the relevant engineering technical skills post-MBA career, especially for circuit branch student?
Engineering technical skills post-MBA. See, MBA and technical don't really go hand in hand unless after MBA you get into a technical job. As I mentioned, most of the people go for finance, marketing, operations as a specialization. Finance you get finance job, marketing you get marketing or sales job, operations you get operations management job. So technical skills, unless you are getting into a core company wherein you are required to manage juniors who have that technical skills, then only I can think of it. But it is not necessary to have technical skills for MBA careers.
Sure. There's a question by Samayak Jain. So the fees that you showed was for both the years or
total for 2 years? Total for 2 years.
So what stream in MBA is best for an engineer, by Manasi Devekar?
Yeah, so I actually tried to answer that, may not have clearly answered it, but as I mentioned, you should actually get into an MBA first year, see all the options, identify your strengths. If you're really creative, you love the marketing campaigns which are going outside, or you think you can sell something, you go for marketing. You have love towards numbers, you can think of finance as an option. If you want to make a career in let's say general management or a more logical role, I can say a strategy kind of role, you can think of operations as a specialization. In IIMs, at least, you get dual specializations. You can choose subjects from different streams. It actually depends. It's again a subjective question. It's completely based on your interest. For mechanical engineer only, I can say operations is best suited, but not necessary. You can still go for finance and marketing as a specialization.
Right. There's a question by Chaitanya Chaudhary. Sir, what was your CAT and MBA set strategy?
Yeah, so for CAT, I told you I could not attempt CAT in my first year, but definitely after joining JBIMS, I appeared for CAT. I just wanted to see where I was. I did not actually prepare for it, but I just wanted to see, I mean, if I can score a good score or not. But definitely I can talk on CET strategy here. In CET, you get 150 minutes to answer 200 questions. It is for sure that you cannot answer all the questions. The first strategy here is to identify the questions which you can avoid. After looking at the question, you should know that this is the question I should not waste my time on. Let's say it's puzzles, and you know your puzzles get correct 80% of the time. But why to take risk for 20% of that time? You have 200 questions to solve. About, let's say, the topper of CET would be around 150, 160 marks. And if your accuracy level is around 90% of what you solve, even if you answer 150 questions according to you correctly, are more than enough in CET. So it's all about skipping those 50 questions which you think will either go wrong or will take up time. That is the most important strategy for CET, which question to skip. And again, it also depends on the section. If you think, let's say, I'm really not good at vocab or English, probably you can start that section towards the end. Focus only on the things which you are really good at, attempt all those questions, then go for that question. And you should, now you have asked my strategy, but you should take inputs from everyone and develop your own strategy. And that is why you should attempt about 25-30 mocks. Try different strategy in first 5-6 mocks. Now you get to know, Acha, this strategy may work for me, this is not working for me. Keep updating your strategy, and at the end of 30th mock, at least you should have a strong strategy what you should be doing.
So there was a relevant question to earlier answer. Samay again asked, like you mentioned about giving CAT in the third year, would it affect in the later interviews or other things?
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter, right? So there's a question by Sunil, which specifically says about how do you finance your MBA? Basically, the fees are very high.
If you actually get into IIMs and the fees are 20-25 lakhs, you don't have to worry about the loans and all. The banks will be behind you because they know that these people are anyways going to earn 20-25 lakhs later. Banks will be behind you. You won't have to go behind banks for the loans.
Sure. There's a question by Kaivalya. Sir, I'm good with numbers and interested in business management. So what should I do after engineering? Go for placement in technical field or attempt CAT and MS set?
Yes, if you have followed the flow chart, I will again repeat the same thing. If you think, let's say, I'm not sure which specialization are you from, but if you think you can do well in your core field, try it for a year at least. When I'm saying try it for a year, that is for a reason which I've already mentioned. Having 2 years of experience adds value to your profile, and it really helps while you are in your MBA college. Apart from that, you keep giving exams. So like it happened with me, I cracked the exam in the first attempt itself. If you are also lucky enough to crack it in, lucky is the wrong word to use, but let's say if you work hard and you crack the exam in the first attempt itself, good. You still have option to choose the college or go for the job. Keep attempting the exams, but I would recommend to get 2 years of experience.
Sure. So let's take last couple of questions and then close the session. Onkar asks, what are the extra skills do I need to get into top MBA school or other than the CAT score?
Extra skills, apart from CAT score, as I mentioned, it's very important to have general knowledge. You will have to crack group discussion as well. and personal interviews. Personal interviews also demand having good economic knowledge, what's happening outside. So general knowledge is one thing you should focus on at this stage, apart from your CAT preparation. And behavioral question, for sure you can prepare after appearing for CAT and all. But GK is something which you cannot actually prepare in a month's time or something. You have to be in touch with what's happening outside.
Right. A follow-up question from Chaitanya Chaudhary. Are general engineer males at disadvantage for summer internships or placements? So this is a gender bias question. Like, yeah,
no, this is actually a term which is very famous, GEM, General Engineer Males. But when you're talking about summer internships and placements, I would say it's an advantage for a reason, because if you have after being GEM, you have actually converted this college. You must be having really good background of academics, your score, the GDPI skills and all. I would take it as an advantage, because the people who are not GEM had other advantages to come into that position. Definitely, it's not a disadvantage.
So Sayali asked a question. As because of the pandemic, would academic or employment gap matter? How do you deal with it? And also, what is the best doing MBA directly after engineering or by taking a job? This you explained that. The first question is about.
Second question is already explained. Because of pandemic, see, at this moment people are commenting, but nobody really has idea when it's going to end. The only thing which we can expect is it's going to end at some point or the other. And once it ends, it'll take about 5 or 6 months to stabilize, and it won't have any issues after that. Especially when you are graduating from a good college, you won't have that employment gap, or I mean, there'll be employment gap, but it won't matter to you if you are doing an MBA from good college. I would really not recommend to go for tier 3 or tier 4 colleges when you are thinking of an MBA.
Sure. Cyril asked another question: how to crack interviews? Some people are good at rank but fail at interview round.
Yeah, that happens mainly for 2 reasons. One is your communication skill, or you don't have a knowledge. You have to, like I told about the for GD and PI as well. GD, you have to keep yourself updated. If there is a question, you should have some or the other knowledge, not of the same topic, but somewhere linked to it. You can at least talk on that. And the communication skills. If let's say there are cases that people have studied in vernacular medium and they're not really good at English, they should focus, they should spend a lot of time. If you're thinking to do an MBA, they should spend a lot of time in improving their communication skills. Without that, it's not easy to get into an MBA college. Even if you get into an MBA, it's not easy to get a good placement. Even if you get a good placement, it's not easy to survive in your work. So communication skills, focus on it. Join some spoken English classes if you think your English, the skills are not good. If those are good, just polish those skills and keep updated about what's happening outside.
Sure. So I think we are done with the questions. Nitin sir, over to you.
Yes, thank you, Paresh. I really thank you, Mr. Mayuresh, so giving such a wide experience of what he has prepared, how he has prepared for his MBA admission, what are the rules, regulations, and how one should look for the preparation kind of things when student is looking for going for the MBA in different branches, or they are looking for MBA admissions. So it was really wonderful session. And thank you, Mayuresh, for guiding all the students regarding MBA admission process, different colleges, then how they should, especially that flow chart. I really appreciate that particular flow chart which is prepared by you to guide the students regarding admission process and why you should look for MBA. And career perspective after graduation, whether they should look for a technical job or managerial job. So once again, thank you. Assure all the students, whenever you need such kind of session, we will approach Mayuresh. And thank you, Mayuresh.
Thank you, Nitin. It was my pleasure to actually conduct this webinar.
Thank you, sir. With
Yes,
your permission, I would end the session.
Thanks.
Sure.
yes, sir, Paresh. Thank you.
Yeah. And everyone, all the audience, you'll get a feedback form post call. Like you will be redirected to a feedback form. Please let us know how was the session. Would we really appreciate that. Thank you.